All right, everyone. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Jason Levine, and thank you so much for joining me today for the Friday Masterclass, where today we're going to be talking about Premiere Pro features and specifically back from Adobe Max. So just a few short weeks ago, we held our Adobe Max 2022 conference in Los Angeles, and my colleague Karina Anglada and myself showed off some of the newer features in Premiere Pro, and maybe some things that you were aware of but hadn't actually used in practice. Leverages a bit of AI and machine learning, leveraging Frame.io, which Paul was just talking about moments ago. Thanks for that nice little outro, Paul, there, or intro. I appreciate that. So we're going to be covering all four of the sort of highlighted features from Adobe Max, specifically auto color, motion graphics templates with media replacement, which is something that we actually added some time ago. First and foremost, you can build your own MOGRTS with media replacement in After Effects, but you can also, of course, leverage many of those via Adobe Stocks. We're going to be talking about that, as well as the Remix tool and Frame.io integration, direct integration with Frame.io, the review panel, showing you how you can send out content for review, and all sorts of other things. So lots of cool stuff to talk about today. Of course, we're coming to you live across Adobe Live, YouTube, Behance, LinkedIn, and the Twitters. So thank you so much. Let's see what's going on with this. More than one ingestion is using the same primary. All right, well, okay. I don't know what that's about. So it looks like everything's running. Okay, well, hello, everyone. So let's see. We've got a lot of people coming in from LinkedIn. Hello from Lithuania. Jihan from Connecticut. Xing. Terje. Monik from Brazil. Ahmed. Kyle. Mark. Antoine, got some friends from Nashville. All right, Richard, Ronald, Fernando. How's everybody doing? Reverb Mike, Jan, you're very kind. Paul Tranny, thank you very much. Yes, all about that lighting, of course. Polk Designs, what's happening? Rob, Bruce Gonzalez, Umacorn, very nice. All right, Gino, how's it going? Penny, Cody Bear. Welcome, Steve. What's up, Jordan? Great to see you. How are you doing? Fiona, Misty. Oh, we got a nice large crowd here today. Okay. Well, on that note, just before I get started too, funnily enough, I'm once again in tie-dye. If you're watching last week, I was wearing this tie-dye t-shirt, but today is different because the climate and the temperature in Arizona has changed. It usually happens a little bit earlier than now, but around this time of year, it goes from sort of still warm, which it was Halloween night, to freezing. So this morning when I went to the gym, and I go super, super early every day, it was 39 degrees, roughly 4 Celsius approximately. Freaking freezing. So, which is good. This happens this time of year, but wow, it just sort of snuck up on me because the last few days, it was still kind of in the 60s in the morning, which is sort of nice, you know. And today it was, we were just above freezing. So I'm all about it, but I'm wearing long sleeves and pants. Not to say I wasn't wearing pants before. I was wearing shorts. So now shorts are officially done. I've retired all the shorts until March-ish. So pants and long sleeves, I'm all about it. I'm all for it. Okay. So those of you new tuning in are going, what and why is he talking about that? Well, this is a fun show, friends. We get personal here. All right, so we're talking about Premiere Pro features back from Max. Let's go ahead and do that. Get right into it. Of course, you can ask your questions. I'll be periodically peeking through all the various chats here so we can get that together. All right, and let's go ahead and bounce into Premiere. There we are. Okay. What's up, Eduardo? Oh, wow, friends from Madagascar. Carolina, Massimo, Rania. Yes, you'll be able to watch this. Everything is archived. Ahmed, okay. Gabriel, Mustafa, Katie from London, Vanessa from Somerton, Spatika, Mohammed Rafe from UAE, Kathleen from Cleveland. Wow, very, 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 very glad to have all of you with me today. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about is a feature called auto color. Now, we've covered color grading and color correction here on the stream. Actually, over the summer, we were doing a lot of those master classes where we had film school sort of part of it here, and then I was covering a lot of the basic topics, and I think it was one of the last live streams that I did going back 3 months ago. around color grading, and sort of the process in Premiere Pro. And we were talking about doing this manually, and we were really kind of getting into, a lot of the various attributes of Lumetri Color. First and foremost, for anybody who's new to Premiere, and I know Paul was just showing you some of the really awesome, and I give credit where credit is due. I will also not do that when it's not appropriate, but the video actions that we have in Express are great, and for the exact reasons Paul was talking about. I want to put together a quick reel and share it. To go into Premiere After Effects, it's just overkill. I mean, I do it, and frankly, it's a drag. It's so much easier in Express, and he showed you. It's great, and it's really awesome, and it's fast, and you can just swap things around quickly, and it just does exactly what you want it to do quickly. Now, with Lumetri Color, as we discussed in the past, if you're new to Premiere Pro color grading, or grading for video, one of the really nice things, if you're familiar with Lightroom or Camera Raw in Photoshop, is that the basic correction section of this Lumetri panel, and there are approximately 5 different tabbed sections here: basic, creative, curves, color wheels, HSL secondaries, and vignettes, 6 sections. The basic section here is essentially the beginnings of Camera Raw and the develop module in Lightroom, right? So it's all kind of the same slider, same parameters that you would use to correct and work on color in photos. So if you kind of know it from Lightroom, you can kind of get into this pretty quickly. Where auto color comes into play, not unlike what you also have in Lightroom, is that it uses machine learning to sort of take a look at the content that you have, analyzes that, and then delivers back a sort of graded version for you. But more importantly, it's a way to get started, right? So it might, in a single click, make it look awesome and you're done, okay? But maybe it just kind of gets you started, and then as you'll see when we apply it here to this various footage, incidentally, this is all content that I shot a couple years ago when Terry, Paul, and I were in Africa doing a tour, and we took a little diversion here. So here's one of my favorites, and this was shot with the Nikon D800 with a 400mm lens. It was absolutely amazing. All handheld, of course. Maybe we apply a little stabilization to this. But this footage is, by design, I shot everything very, very flat. So there's been no color applied to this. And the way that you do that in DSLR or mirrorless, you drop the saturation, you drop the contrast, you drop the sharpness, and then you kind of add it all back in. Now, we were kind of in a unique spot here, as you can even see in this very flat piece here, because it was June, June. So it was winter time in South Africa. So as you can see, everything was kind of dead. And, and that's not a commentary on some of the life that we saw there too, because it is the bush and it's survival of the fittest. And it's kind of amazing to see that. This actual lioness here was injured in another clip. You see she gets up and she's really skinny and has some, she was obviously recently attacked by another pack of lions, which is how it goes. It's just amazing to see this kind of stuff. But anyway, it was already flat because there was no green, there was no life because it was winter. So everything was kind of dead and, sort of decaying away. So it'll be interesting to see what auto color can do when you just don't have a heck of a lot of contrast here. So let's try it. So it's as simple as just clicking the button, right? So up here at the top in Lumetri, we've got auto color. All right, reverb mic, born free, yes indeed. Let's go ahead and click auto. And right away, I mean, holy cow, I'm actually pretty impressed here. Again, we'll use our sort of, toggle bypass here. Let's shrink it, let me just move so I can see a little bit more. All right, so before, just kind of flat and not very, just like less contrast. After, just kind of added a nice, it's like just enough to get started. And as mentioned, what I love about this is that it shows you, similar to Lightroom, exactly what it did. So this isn't like one-click fix and now you can't modify it. It's, one-click adjustment, but now you can make further adjustments. So looking at this, if I simply wanted to kind of work within the boundaries of the basic panel here, I could basically, just start to, let's sort of increase saturation a bit more. All right. And this was at sunset. This was kind of in the afternoon. All right. Highlights are looking good here. Maybe now it dropped the contrast a bit. Maybe I'm going to bring it up just ever so slightly. But actually, I'll bring the black level down even more. Kind of crush that. We're still getting nice shadow detail here in the legs, not trying to be perverse by zooming in over there. All right. Now, again, as far as the tint goes, there's not a lot going on here. So again, if we go too much into the magenta, no, not right. If we go too much into the green, no, that's not right either. So I think it was like a 0.1, 0.3. But very quickly, before, very, very flat. After, it's just like boom, pops. And if we play this now, again, you're really kind of seeing the beauty of that sun reflecting off of the elephant there. I mean, holy, that looks wonderful. Flat, life. Not alive, alive. Auto color, right? Now, we have other tools where we're going to tweak some things. I'm probably going to use that in that last shot, so I'll save that. We're going to use some of the selective color curves, which are these things that you see down here. But I want to get through a couple of these just to kind of give you a couple different examples, all right? So that's the first one. So that looks pretty great. I love it. Awesome, all right? Very, very quickly. Okay. So this one here, now we've got a little bit more color saturation because this was sunrise. So this was probably, I don't know, June. Do we have any friends watching from South Africa? I don't remember what time the sunrise was. I imagine very early. So we've got some color information here, but again, as you look out into the distance, you can see it's just a lot of brush. It's not a lot of like beautiful, vibrant color. Most of it's coming from the sky. So I'm not exactly sure how much it's going to do here, but let's take a look. All right. And right away, it just kind of first, it creates a bit more of a balance, which is really nice. And again, just even looking at the temperature here, you can see it warmed it up ever so slightly. So we can increase that, all right, just a little bit more. And in fact, if I go to the media browser here, so these are some already graded pieces that I did for a piece that I actually created for Nikon. And this really showcases to you, this is how I remember it looking. Now granted, these are graded, these are finished, but this is really how, and you can see too, this was shot with the 400 millimeter again with an 800 extender on there. So like, look at that sun. This was a different day, but crazy stuff. But you just look at the hues in the sky. That's how I remember it. So looking to here, I could probably push this even a little bit further. Maybe once again, dropping the black level here ever so slightly, increasing a bit of saturation. All right, now normally again I'd be using scopes here, but we don't need to get into that. And you can see if I kind of push the saturation way up, I mean I'm at like 200% here. I mean, that's not bad, it's probably a little much. And if I were to do something like that, I would probably, drop my contrast a bit more, something like this, to kind of balance them, and maybe even add a little bit of faded film, which is down here in the creative section. Okay, and that's going to also kind of drop the contrast there and give it a slightly more filmic look. All right, and maybe even go, because we've got quite a bit of warmth here, let's add back some of the green tint to offset that just a bit. So before, after, before, after, and now I'm saying, yeah, it's a little too oversaturated. So let's just pull this back a little bit more. Also worth pointing out for the true video nerds here, of course, now this was shot almost 10 years ago. This is 420 footage. This is not 422. So, it's holding up pretty darn well. Now that was one of the magical things of this era of Nikon cameras, was that it was a much higher bitrate H.264 that it was generating. Now I could have done HDMI out to something like an Atomos or something. Didn't have that at the time. So this was a direct recording from the camera as a QuickTime movie in H.264. But I think they used, I think it was a 24 megabit H.264 or maybe 40. I can't remember exactly. For sure it was 24 or above. So again, the footage really holds up, before, after, and if we wanted to do a little quick stabilization on this, let's go to our, not eWarp, let's go to our warp stabilizer over here and drag this on the clip and let it do its analysis. Paul, I remember that photo. Yeah, man. You were there. Paul, as I was going through, I don't think it's in any of these clips. I'm not going to because these were some of just the animals. Oh, there. Well, yes, there's the back of Paul's head, everybody. That's Paul Tranny's head. You could see kind of the side of his head right there. There he is. It's the back of Paul's head. That was shot with the 14 to 24 lens, which is, I think it's an f2.8. Wow, you throw that thing on and it is just like instantly cinematic. It's crazy how good that is, right? Gino, oh yeah, Kenya. My mom just did a safari in Kenya, actually. Funny you mentioned that. Yeah. Misty Iwatsu, what an amazing trip. It really was. Rob Magnell, how in the world do you store that much footage? Well, funny you mentioned that, Rob, because in those days, that camera, I think it only, I don't even know if it had SD. I think it was still CF card slots. And this is 10 years ago. I know for sure they were 32 big cards. Would I just say big? 32 gig cards. I don't even know if they were 64 gig cards. They were wickedly expensive. That's all I remember. And I just had a lot of them. So Paul I think I shot like 10 cards worth over X number of days. I don't remember how many days it was. Let's look at it stabilized. Oh yeah. And you can see I'm doing a little bit of rack focusing there. So, you know, it's all handheld. So it's not National Geographic. There's a little bit of warpiness right there. That's okay. But, you know, stabilized, it looks way better. Okay. So really happy with that. And again, if we just kind of do the quick before and after, auto color got us, you know, 85, 90% of the way there. All right. So let's take a look at this amazing shot. I mean, I don't say it's an amazing shot because I shot it. Just, again, moments in nature of a lioness and her little cubs. Now, this one clearly is going to be a bit more challenging because there's just not a lot here. And, you know, we're going to have to get experimental. Now, for something like this, you might use a creative LUT, essentially a preset. If we look down here in the creative section, we have lots of these. And maybe after we do auto color, we'll see about applying them. Chances are, I think I'm instead going to use some of these selective color curves because we just want to kind of emphasize a bit more of what's there without really, I mean, again, it's entirely up to you how you do this kind of thing. I remember what it looked like. I don't want to throw too much there that wasn't there because that's how it looked. For me, I just try and get things back to the way I remember seeing them. Sometimes I want to overdo it. Sometimes you want to oversaturate and go a bit more stylistic. Certainly if you're making a movie or again, if, you know, whatever, I'm not being published with these things. So I do it for me, but you push it to the limit that feels good to you, essentially, right? Wasim, what's up? Bob Bordeaux. Okay. Yeah, I see some people on LinkedIn are saying there's no video, but many are saying it looks fine. So yes, you may need to restart your browser. Not sure what is happening. Let's just blame LinkedIn because everyone else is fine. Sorry about that, though. I don't know why that's going on for you guys. Okay, so let's go and try auto. Okay, so right away, and you could see like significant higher contrast difference. Did you notice in all the others, it lowered the contrast? Here, significant contrast boost, right? About 30% more. So before, after, right? Before, after. And that's really just the start. Now, again, not a lot to work with here. I mean, in some ways, it's sort of duochromatic. You kind of have yellow and green and black. You know, that's it. I mean, there's just not a lot of other color in there. Interestingly, too, note it cooled the temperature, but raised the tint to kind of balance that. So we're going to kind of play off of that. Now, again, the first thing I'll typically do is see like what happens if I continue to saturate, right? Now, if we go really extreme, this looks bad, right? We don't want that. So, you know, you start to kind of pull back a bit, and then we look at the before and the after. And I'm looking at the stream play out here. It looks pretty good. Maybe back off just a little bit more, okay? I'm thinking what I want to do is actually want to bring out some of these colors here in the plants, some more of that green, and maybe just bring out some more of the earthy, warmer tones. Now, if you know what you're doing with traditional RGB curves, this here, you can do that. as I've said many times on the stream, I use RGB curves solely to kind of do an overall lift, a contrast boost. I don't do them for color correction or grading because I just don't really know how to make them do what I want to do. However, with selective color or the hue saturation curves, it's quite brilliant. And the way that this works is you have all of these different modules, so hue versus sat. And what that means is you're adjusting the saturation of a particularly selected hue. These are called selective color grading modules. Same here, hue versus hue. You can adjust the hue of a selected hue, which means that we could actually recolor certain elements in the shot. Maybe we'll try that. We'll see. I don't know how well that'll work on this, but we'll give it a shot. And so on and so forth. Hue versus luma, adjust the luminance, right? The brightness of a particular hue. So you could take the reds, there aren't many, and brighten the reds, or darken, minimize the luminance of reds to create sort of more drama, more contrast. So these modules are extremely powerful. And of course, the way that you use them is with the classic Adobe eyedropper here. So I'm just going to zoom in so it's easier for me to make my selection. And maybe let's start with some of the green here, all right? And I'm going to try and find kind of a neutral representative green. I think this will probably be good. It might even be too yellow. Let me try another selection there. This. That's still kind of going yellow. Let me try one more. I mean, it knows what color it is. I guess it is kind of yellowish. It's still kind of yellow. Okay. So what that does is it gives you, again, the center point of your selection, and then you have the sort of range, the adjacent colors that it will affect. Now, you can simply start raising or dropping this, and you see that as I do that, it's now increasing the saturation of that specifically selected color. Now, you can also notice, though, that I'm kind of free-form moving here. What if I want to constrain that center point? Now, in this case, I actually want to move it a little more towards green, so I don't actually need the constraint. If, however, I want to constrain that center point, I can hold down the Shift key, and now it's just saturate, desaturate, saturate, desaturate, saturate, desaturate. Okay? Really, really cool. So again, now, if I want to, I can slide some of these points around, maybe kind of affect a bit more of the green. That's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to just manually adjust this. It actually seemed like it was doing the right thing. I just want to give myself a little bit more range here. So that's what I'm going to do, all right? And I can gradually increase that. Now similarly, let's see if we can bring out some of these reds. Now there's not a lot. Maybe some of the earthy ground might come into play there. And you can see once again, it's now created this kind of orange-red center point. Let's see. Oh yeah. It actually is. Look at the earth. Look at the ground. Look at those red flowers. Now again, we might be doing a little too much here. So maybe we back off a bit. I'll go a little bit more extreme for the stream, okay? And then maybe I'll do some luminance adjustment on these reds as well. All right, I'm going to constrain it here. And by the way, I'll zoom in a second, but note as I drag up, it's brightening. As I drag down, it's darkening, okay? And it shows you very explicitly on the graph right here. Can you see that? So notice it's brighter, there's my finger, brighter at the top, darker at the bottom. So it's giving you a complete visual indicator of what's actually happening there. Oh, I moved that a little bit towards the yellows. Let's move that back towards red. Okay. Zoom back out to fit. Before, whoa, pretty flat. Wind back, after, before, after. And then, for something like this, again, not my greatest composition there. That's the danger of hand holding a 400mm lens. I mean, it's fairly steady considering. I'm going to add a little bit of a vignette here, But I'm also going to go into the creative section here and add just a little bit of faded film. All right, just to kind of, again, take a little bit of that digital edge off. And that looks pretty great. And that looks like it did when I shot it. All right. Beautiful. Beautiful creature. Before, after. All right. Sweet. Highlander 4, the darkening. Very nice. Okay, Rashidi. Yes, it'll be on the Adobe Live YouTube as well as my YouTube channel, Jason Levine Video, so you can find those there. Are most principles similar to Photoshop? I mean, yes, in terms of the actual process of adding color. Again, similarly, and you'll see as we go through this all here, you know, now, again, we could affect shadow tint, highlight tint here. So there's lots more opportunities, you know, if we wanted to push some of the highlights, again, into the sort of warmer red tones. You know, these are things that you would do on photos. Yes, it all sort of works the same or very similarly, but just remember that you're doing this over time. So the differences here are that, you know, as I'm moving through the scene, or as in this case, I'm kind of static in an open air Jeep here. But if I were kind of moving the camera as the light changes, that one color setting may not work as light starts hitting the lens differently. So that's the challenge with grading, is that you're doing it over time. So it's not uncommon to keyframe changes in any of these various parameters that we've affected. And of course, you can do that directly here. So if we go into the effects controls, and this isn't something that I point out a lot, but let's say that we wanted to adjust temperature over time for whatever reason. All right, you could set a keyframe. All right, so I'm gonna just do that right now. All right, and it draws a keyframe here. And then let's say, you know, we'll advance like one frame. All right, I'm gonna set another keyframe. And then let's say I want it to gradually get cooler. All right. So now you're seeing warmer, cooler. Okay. So if you ever heard the phrase color timing, that's what that's referencing. Now you wouldn't do that here. That looks weird. That, or, you know, unless you're doing it for effect. But it's that concept that as light and position change, you may also have to adjust the color over time, and that's how you do it, at least in this example. Okay? Very cool. All right. Very good. Okay. Excellent. All right, so let's move on now to the remix tool. So this is something which involves using the Essential Sound panel. Okay, and maybe for those who are having some issues, yeah, see, lots aren't. I don't know why some are. People share in the chats what browser you're using. Maybe there's some issue in some browser today. I saw someone was having problems with Chrome earlier. Not sure what that is. We're going to leverage Essential Sound here to find some Adobe stock music. All right. Now, normally I would bring my own music in. In fact, I really should bring my own music in. I just didn't have any saved locally. So that's okay. We're going to just kind of search through some Adobe stock audio. And this is actually great because we're going to apply some music to this little edit here. But maybe we want to make sure that the music kind of fits the duration of the video. And maybe I'll just stick a couple more clips in here. All right, I've got this rhinoceros bit here. I'll color this differently. Cerulean. And maybe we'll end with this leopard. This night leopard shot. So this was amazing too. So by the way, just to kind of show you, again, already graded stuff here. Just beautiful. I mean, we got very, very lucky to not only see the big five naturally. Look at all the flies and everything. Detail is crazy. And we were, by the way, very close to this creature, just so you know. All of these, like very, very close. Part of why they're cropped the way they are is because I was using this extreme zoom. Well, I was zoomed out, I'm sure, but I was using this huge lens because you'd stumble upon someone, we'd drive up pretty closely, and then it was like, okay, get out of the way. You know, they're moving or we got to move. But we found this leopard in the dark. And I actually blogged about this, and there's even a Behance project. It looks like the leopard has a cataract. In fact, it is a corneal injury, as a animal physician indicated on my Behance project. Again, you know, animals fight. And later we saw this leopard climb into a tree where it had like the carcass of some animal it was storing. Probably, I think it may have been a wildebeest, which we'd seen earlier that evening too. Anyway, okay, so this whole thing is approximately 1 minute and 8 seconds, and that'll come into play when we start leveraging the remix tool. All right. So first thing, of course, the Adobe Sound, with Essential Sound rather, we want to choose, you know, what kind of music do we want here. So what do we want? Mysterious. Okay. Exotic and dreamy. All right. So it's going to sort of search through. And by the way, you can search through lots of different categories if you've not used any of this. There's different genres, tons of genres, filters for things with, you know, voice, and you can search on tempo. You can also see all the various audio partners that we now license Adobe stock audio content from. So a lot of you are familiar with Epidemic Sound or Jamendo. But in this case, I'm just going to do a couple of moods here. And it returned about 17,000 results. Now, as always, record, scratch, funk, hip hop groove. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's the things that it might be actually. I say that record scratch because yes, that could work. So let us see. So I'm going to wind back here and I just want to find something first, right? Now this is also 2 minutes and 21 seconds. That's important to note. So let's take a listen here and just see how this works. I like the tempo. Okay. Sure, fine, whatever. I don't want to spend too much time on this. Let's see, uplifting cinematic action. Nope, too slow. Mellow hip hop piano chill groove. Sounds like the same one from the other dude. All right, let's try one more. Slow soul piano romantic. Does everybody use the same voice samples? This is why, you know, this is wonderful music. You all know I compose my own though. That's, you know. Ah, there we go. Okay, we're just gonna go with this because I don't want to waste any more time with this. So we're gonna drag this in. Now again, this is just a preview. All right, if I like it, I can license this and it will download the full fidelity wave version. When you just drag directly from Essential Sound, it's bringing in essentially an MP4. You can see M4A file here, okay? Now, here's the essential thing that you need to know. The audio is too long, right? So as an audio person myself, again, I would probably go in there. Does this have a distinct beat towards the end? This is very, very loud. Yeah, let me drop this down. Drop this down around -6. Okay, I chose something really odd. So there's no beat on here, which is fine. There's a pulse though. So again, you want to sort of cut on the pulse, cut on the beat. But more importantly, you want to sort of preserve the beginning of the song and the end of the song. And you want to obviously edit in a place that makes sense. Well, if you're not a great editor, you're not really comfortable editing audio, most people won't necessarily notice, but if you start listening and if you are someone who cares, you're actually fine. Even in commercials, like you'll hear where there are bad edits, where like things just don't line up. And this is what the remix tool is for, and this is what it solves. Once again, using machine learning, it analyzes your audio and it figures out the beats, it figures out the duration, it understands duration and the pulse, it understands the BPM, and then it intelligently figures out edit points so that you can simply drag it to the duration that you need, and it edits the track for you and all is well. So you will find the remix tool under the ripple edit tool here. All right. Now you can also manually right-click, control-click, and say remix, but it's even easier simply to drag it to the duration that you need. It does a little bit of analysis here. All right. MOGRTS, is that like Go-Gurts? Someone has children. Motion graphics templates. Actually, I think our friend in the community, Premier Gal, did a video about that when we first came out with MOGRTS. Now, she didn't do Go-Gurt, she did Yogurt, but she was, I don't even remember what the video was. It was very funny at the time. Okay, so right away now, you take a look and you're gonna see that there are these edit points. These little lines, these squiggly lines that you see, these represent the edit points where it figured out how to edit this to kind of fit the duration. Now, you might say, well, how come there's a couple seconds lingering over here? Well, again, it's not time stretching, it's figuring out the appropriate part to where it can edit that so that it makes sense to sort of have that ending. So if you go into the settings here, I just want to show you. All right. If we go into some of our settings, you'll see that you have two methods here, remix and stretch. So, and curiously, actually in Audition, oh, it actually tells you plus or minus 5 seconds. So this is the way that this algorithm works. Now, sometimes it's right on, sometimes not. Sometimes you can affect that by adjusting the amount of segments and the amount of variations here. So again, if I want to customize this, let's say we want fewer edit segments, all right? And let's see if I even redrag. Maybe this will make a difference. We'll see. No, it's still kind of around the same time. But now there are fewer edits here, all right? And let's take a listen to what some of those edit points sound like. Perfect, seamless, didn't hear anything there. Didn't even sound like there was a weird key change, or it sounded just perfectly seamless. Very nice. Let's see the last one here. All right. So, you know, what I'd ultimately probably need to do here if I wanted it to end right away based on using this, I might elongate my video a little. Again, there is going to be that plus or minus 5 seconds using remix. So sometimes it's just a matter of reconfiguring it. Sometimes the variations can do that. I mean, it just changes over time. Sometimes even just adjusting things a frame or two in the video will then subsequently affect how it re-stretches. All right, so let's see. Do I have any more here? Oh, I do. Okay, let's try that. Let's see if I now drag this. Oh, actually, no, now it should be fine, right? And I'm going to add a little fade on the end here. So we'll go into our dissolves. Let's dip to black. Nice, okay? So again, remix, super cool, really powerful, love this feature. Let's even take it a step further. Let's take a couple of these clips out. Let's try it again and see what it does here. Okay, so same thing. Got a little bit of a lead at the end there, but different edit points now. Really nice edit points. Again, you know, close. tweak the settings, see if you can get it even closer. You know, it does take a little bit of playing around with, but now, just to kind of show you the difference, let's clear this, or rather, I'm going to change this to the stretch method. So this now fits the duration of the piece to the duration of your video exactly. But you will notice a fundamental difference very quickly. I'm just having to do a quick render on this. Okay. Oh, what did it do? Yeah, it speeds it up or slows it down based on the duration. So unless you've got something where the music is 2 minutes and 5 seconds and your edit is 2:03 and the remix for whatever reason is just leaving a tail that you don't want, you could probably get away with using stretch, right? Changing from 2:05 to 2:03, I don't know what percentage that is, very, very small. It's not going to sound weird. But in this case, the original audio was 2:30 or something like that. So we're stretching it down, well below 50%. So it's just speeding everything up, and then it just becomes sort of comical. Now, actually, in and of itself, I don't hate it. Kind of reminds me of Frank Zappa. But, you know, that isn't necessarily what we want, right? We want a kind of slow, dreamy, dramatic. So that's the difference. Stretch is going to adhere to exact timing, but it uses time stretching without altering pitch to fit an exact duration. Remix allows you to drag to any duration where it's actually going to figure out edit points. It's going to cut pieces out, preserve beginning and ending, and just kind of fill the middle in. But you do have the potential of having that little bit of a tail at the end, which, you know, in many cases, if you're adding credits or something like an end card on YouTube, that's actually great. Like, it actually makes sense, right? You see this all the time. So there is there's like a method behind the madness there, quote unquote, so to speak. It makes sense. So, but now you understand kind of how those two different things work, okay? All right. Let's see what else we got. Gorgeous creatures. Yes, couldn't agree more. Okay. Oh, thank you. I see Bob's Mac OS Chrome. Okay. No one's having issues with Chrome today. Okay. Okay. All right. Yes, leaves time for a text frame or two, the end or something, Peter. Exactly. Okay. Very good. All right. So now let's get to, I'll bring back that other footage here. Let's get into media replacement motion graphics templates. Okay. So once again, we're going to go back to Essential Graphics. Now, the point of this is really just to showcase that when you're creating, so motion graphics templates, for those of you unfamiliar, we've got about 10 more minutes here, include all different types of animated graphics for your video. So this includes things like lower thirds, credits even. So you'll see down here below, I'm just kind of hover scrubbing over some of these. You could have a credit roll. Here's this tricolor wipe. So again, you could use this as kind of a transitional graphic. Here's another transitional animation graphic. Here's some titles. So again, things like, you know, intro titles and stuff. By the way, as you hover scrub over these, they will start to cache and play back. Some of them, if they're a little bit heavier, it takes more time for it to do that. Oh, that's one that someone else created. Sorry. Here's some lower third options here. Many of these are free. All right. So this kind of just shows you different. In fact, I think this was one of the ones that we used for Max. Okay. The idea of media replacement is we also have templates where there are all kinds of animations that are happening, and then you can leverage the animations, but with your own footage. All right. Hence the concept of replacing media. So this is really cool, right? Because you might have some awesome graphic. You see this a lot in news. You know, they'll have a video playing in a box, and then a globe spins around, and there's another box, and then something else. Well, prior to media replacement as a feature in motion graphics templates, you would have had to have reauthored the template to change the footage. Now it's a function of the motion graphics template, and you can create a drag and drop state that makes it really easy. What does that all mean? No one understands what I'm talking about. All right. So we're going to go to Adobe Stock within Essential Graphics. We're going to type media replace, And let's tap free. Maybe tap free first. All right. Media replace. So these are all free, downloadable motion graphics templates that have media replacement attributes, okay? And like I was just saying, sports. So here's like an example, right? So here they've created these sports modern titles, and you can see that in each of these different shapes, they have different video playing inside of them. The video that is playing inside of those is swappable. So you download the template, you drag your video in there, and then it looks just like this, okay? Super cool, super simple. And these are free ones, all right? So let's look for something, I'm kind of looking for something a little more, oh, this one's cool. I like this. What is this? Versatile split screens title. Okay, I like kind of matte title thingies. Oh, neat. So this might have, it looks like this might have multiple video drop zones that you can use. So let's try something like this. This could be cool. Now again, some of this, you'd want your video kind of formatted properly to fit these mats, but you get the idea. Let's see. I don't know what this is going to look like. So let's just go ahead and let's download this. And it's free, which is really nice. Now when you do that, it's going to appear in My Templates. Okay? And then from there, we're going to drag this into our timeline. All right? And now when I hover over this, you're actually seeing what it is. Now, when I click on it, if we go into the Essential Graphics panel, now you can see all of the various controls that you have the ability to change. And this one has tons. Look, light leak controls. Wow. Light position. Okay. Text controls. Obviously, we don't want it to say split screen mats. Maybe it's going to say something like animals in the wild. You can change the font. They give you that option here. You can change the style, the size, the title color, right? Outline controls, drop shadow controls. So many of these have so many different controls. Matte, all right, so you can choose the matting option. Wow, really, really cool here. And then you have the media replacement settings here. And this little graphic represents the media that you can drag and drop into there. So let's just go ahead and take a couple of these clips. Now I'll use some of the other, they'll be ungraded, of course. But let's take, let's say this elephant here. And I'm going to drag that right there. And it appears right there. And let's grab media 2. And let's go with our lion cubs and drag that in there. And then let's go to media 3. Twirl that down. Again, these have so many options. And let's go rhino. And drag that in there. All right, now again, that one's not quite formatted quite perfectly. So maybe we make an adjustment on that. Oh, whoops. So I'm adjusting it in the frame here. Dragging that over so we see his head. Well, of course, that's going to affect, I don't know where it is. I'll have to play it back to see. All right. And let's go ahead and scrub through this. Yeah, I'll need to reposition that. Again, you have the positioning controls right there. Okay. Oh, and I see media position. Duh. There we go. Move that in a little bit. All right. Scrub it. Pretty sweet. Now you're going, well, why is it playing back so choppily? Well, yeah, because it's got 3 HD videos in there, and this is clearly an After Effects template. So again, it's using the After Effects render engine under the hood here to handle some of this stuff. So as you scrub through, it will begin to cache your frames, making that playback better, faster, more efficient, etc. Now you've also got background controls here. Oh, it looks like it's just background color. What else do we have? Oh, amount of noise, matte controls. Oh, 2 left, 1 right. Oh, that's cool. 3 videos horizontal. Oh yeah, sweet. Oh, and see, I messed up the, because I changed the position on this one. Oh, wait, what was it? It was this, right? Yeah. And I'll set this back to normal. So I'm going to put this back to the way it was. Right. All right, I won't worry about that for now. But you get the idea. These are all editable, modifiable. So cool. And there are tons of these that are free, right? So you just go to Essential Graphics, Browse, Adobe Stock, Free, Media Replace, okay? Now, there's also Premium. So if you've got licenses, if you have credits, and look at this. There are 65 pages of results of these. And I got to tell you, the free ones are awesome. Like, there's great free ones. There are amazing paid ones too. Here's a cool new modern Zoom logo. Like, some of this stuff, again, you know, it's everybody has a preference for style, but like, I don't know, this is pretty sweet. This is pretty cool looking. Very kind of now, for my money. Maybe you hate that. You're like, nope, that looks like 2014. Okay, well, you know, that's up to you. So many cool ones here. And then it tells you all the various attributes and how they're created. And, you know, by the way, if you don't have any of the fonts, I'd like to point this out too. If it uses a font, so yeah, here's, I don't have Balboa Extra Black. That's what this is telling me. Of course, these are all Adobe fonts. So when you license the content here, it automatically downloads and licenses that font for you. All right. Okay. So for our last number, we're going to talk about Frame.io. We've got about 5 minutes here. So I can do this real quickly. Essentially, Frame.io is really the best way. And by the way, anyone who's a Creative Cloud member has access to Frame.io today. You don't need to buy anything additional. Yes, you can buy more storage, and there are other sort of plans for adding more storage and sharing capabilities in Frame. But every Creative Cloud member, full Creative Cloud member, has access to Frame.io and storing content, and thus allowing people to review content, comment on it, and then those comments can appear back in their Premiere Pro interface. So one of the really wonderful features of Frame is that it allows you to export directly from the Premiere Pro timeline. So here's what I can do. I'm going to come up to our Frame panel here, and right now I'm inside of a project of mine. You can create, you know, your own projects. So I just call this Jason's team, and this is just kind of all random stuff that I've been working on. There's some Max stuff in here, some of the Max demos. Here's Shark Puppet, all right. And directly from the Premiere Pro timeline, if I wanted to share this with someone, I now have the ability to upload directly to Frame. So I'm going to do that. Oh gosh, we only have 3 minutes. All right, so I'm going to choose Active Sequence, which is going to be this auto color one. I'm just going to use the work area here. I've got a couple different presets that I can choose. Let's do Web 1080. And then I'm going to say export markers as comments. I don't have any markers in there, but if I did, those comments would already appear in Frame. And then I'm going to choose Upload. Now you also have auto versioning here, which is super important because this is going to allow you, if you're going to have subsequent edits, changes to this particular timeline, it'll keep a record of those. This was something that I showed in the Max keynote. Again, because this is all integrated, by the way, it is now launching Media Encoder. You'll see it bouncing down below so that it can render this out into frames. It's going to take a second. I should have launched Media Encoder, 3 minutes. As you make changes and you re-upload, it stores all the various versions for you, which is super cool. So, and then you saw, like I showed at Max, how you can have this side-by-side comparison view. Really cool, all right? And you can see here it's now rendering pretty quickly, all right? And then it's going to upload also quickly, all right? So we'll do that, okay? It renders, and then of course it has to upload this to the Frame.io sort of web-based review service. Now, by the way, if you don't see your Frame panel, it is now an integrated panel in Premiere Pro. Review with Frame.io right there, okay? So it has now been uploaded into Frame. It is now shareable via Frame. Now, admittedly, the upload is done. It's already stored all of that. It does take a few seconds, so I don't know if we're gonna have enough time. We're gonna have to see. But let me show you sort of the options that you have. Now, for this whole project, I can share this with people. And we see we have like share for review and share as presentation. I can also add collaborators to this entire project. From an individual video, I also have the similar options. So I can share for review, okay, or share as presentation. So just real quickly, share as presentation. Again, my friend Karina showed this. What's nice about this is what you would use if the video's done and you kind of just want to showcase it to people. So this allows you to do a couple of things. First of all, you'll have like a colored play button. You can use a specific branded color. You can add a background color. You can choose the type of theme. It'll also do watermarking. It'll also do native, oh, what just happened there? Why is the stream spinning? It'll also do native branding if you so desire. So this is really super cool. But more importantly, if we do share for review, oh, could not make a review link. Let's try it again. Share for review. Oh. Did my internet just drop on this computer? Share, but don't overshare. That's very funny. All right, let's see if this is allowing me to do it. Oh, it looks like my internet on this machine is down. Okay. Well, or it could be the frame service. I'm not entirely sure. Either way, you create the shareable link here. You can then share that out to anyone via email or anywhere else, and then they can review and comment on that. But friends, that is all the time we have. So stay tuned for the DCC coming up next. Thank you. Have a great rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. And we'll see you again next time. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.